Kind of shift gears here. Speaking of inequality, J.P. Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon on 60 Minutes last night amid his ongoing feud with Elizabeth Warren over the sin of being a billionaire. He gave a pretty interesting answer when he was asked about the wage gap in this country. Take a listen.
I think it's a huge problem, and I think the wealthy have been getting wealthier too much in many ways. So middle-class incomes have been kind of flat for maybe 15 years or so, and that's not particularly good in America.
Last year, you were paid $31 million. Too high?
The board sets mine. I have nothing to do with it.
Well, you could return some of it.
I could. Is that going to solve any of those problems?
I don't know.
Heather is still with me, as so is the author of The Upside of Inequality. Ed, this is right down your angle, my man. You wrote a book about this, that there's upside to what everyone is complaining about.
Well, a couple thoughts. First, I went to school with Jamie Dimon, and the highest earning people in my class earn substantially more than Jamie Dimon earns. So I think if you want to get a guy of his quality to run an institution as important as J.P. Morgan, this is the market rate. And if you look at what CEOs get paid relative to the value of their companies, relative to what athletes and movie stars have gotten paid, their increases over time, it's very comparable. And why is that? Because as the economy grows larger relative to the individuals who compose it, companies are going to be bigger, CEOs are going to be bigger, movie stars are going to be bigger. Everybody with talent who can scale to economy-wide success is going to be much bigger than the median pay of individuals. We can have politicians get in the way of what the market wants to pay for different factors of input like talent. It's going to lead badly if we go down that path.
All right, first of all, before I ask Heather her thoughts on this, when you go to the class reunion, who's making more than Jamie Dimon?
Oh, lots of people.
Really?
Yeah.
Can you give us one name? I'm curious.
Seth Klarman.
Really?
Sure. I could give you many names. I ought to be careful about it.
Okay, be careful.
10 names?
I'm just curious. You got 10 people, like Jamie Dimon walks in the room like, I'm the man, and they're like, get in the back of the line.
Hey, when Jamie Dimon went to work for Sandy Weil at Travelers, we all thought he was crazy. Okay, we all thought, man, that is not the path to go down if you want to make money.
Because he could be making a lot more money if he was doing this differently.
Yes.
Yeah. Heather, to that point, though, I want to share with the audience.
I'm having a hard time feeling sorry for Jamie.
I'm not feeling sorry for him.
But he must, his benchmark at his classmates.
But let me share one other clip, though, because it's when they were talking about the consumer. Yeah, the economy is getting bigger. It's being driven by the consumer, but this is where the wage argument comes more into focus.
The consumer, which is 70% of the U.S. economy, is quite strong. Confidence is very high. Their balance sheet's in great shape. And you see that the strength of the American consumer is driving an American economy and a global economy. And while business slowed down, my current view is that, no, it just was a slowdown, not a petering out.
You sound pretty optimistic about the economy.
Well, I am.
So Leslie Stahl says CEO pay is up 940% over a period of time. The middle class, i.e. the consumer's up only 12%. And this is where someone like Elizabeth Warren would say, if the pot is growing as big as Ed is talking about, why isn't shared or distributed more evenly?
There are so many answers to this, and thank you for showing that clip, because she goes on to be very frustrated with his answer, because he keeps talking about how things are good. In fact, things are great, and they're going to stay great. And so she keeps trying to shift it to someplace where he'll say something negative about the economy or Trump. He won't do that. And so she winds up saying, but why do we feel badly? Well, we feel badly because we keep getting the media telling us that things are bad. And the story about income inequality is a lot of the media spinning the numbers. So you see these numbers about a 17-to-1 gap, which was the census report, or 60-to-1 if you're looking at income. What those leave out are two things. One, the number of people on the bottom quintile, those have actually dropped, while the number of people in the top quintile are up by 15%. So it's not that people are...
That's income mobility.
That's income mobility, which is what we should be focusing on, how much people can move. And the fact that the problem is that people aren't suffering, is that some people are getting better
real quick,
faster.
Because I don't want to run out of time.
But the real number, if you just throw this in for your viewers, if you put in all the taxes and the transfer payments, you have a less than 4-to-1 ratio between the top and the bottom. And your biggest problem that the people who want income redistribution need to answer is, for 60% of our workforce, you're making hardly any more money than people at the bottom when you put in all the transfer payments for a lot more work. How do you keep them incentivized to keep working? How do you not destroy those incentives?
Right. So then the question, though, is, the math may be skewed, the reporting is certainly disingenuous, but it seems like it may be working. you understand politics as well as anyone else. How afraid are you, though, that this might be the election year where all of this comes and people go and they start to vote based on the notion of unfair America and changing, going away from free markets into making the government tilt the scales?
It is always a risk because the Republicans and the conservatives tend to be really lousy at articulating what they're for and how to get there. They tend to get caught in policy weeds and not talk about the benefits. But I do think that whoever your Democrat candidate is, they're going to be so far left, being pushed there by their primary voters, that it will be a lot like a 72 or an 84, where basically the Republican is going to win against that level of extremism. Because if you look at millennials who support socialism, they don't mean what you and I understand to be socialism. They just want things to be better and taken care of.
I would just remind them.
Go ahead.
I just remind the voter that the median American earns about 30% more than the median German, and that gap has been growing wider since 2000.
All right, Heather, Ed, we can do this all day, but unfortunately, I've got to wrap. I appreciate both your expertise, and Jamie Dimon ain't at the top of his class. That's something. See you guys later.